Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyoфvacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyoфvacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul. This week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, I am delighted to welcome Janet Bava, Chief Commercial Officer, Windstar Cruises. We have had several small ship specialists on the podcast, as well as leaders from some of the lines. And of course, passionate cruisers providing us their cruise reports from their time on various small ship and river cruises. This is the first time we have exclusively focused on Windstar Cruises, and I am excited to meet Janet and learn about Windstar. Cuban-born and Miami-raised, Janet Bava found her love for travel at a young age. She had her first taste of cruising at the age of 15 when she celebrated her quinceañera on board a Royal Caribbean cruise ship and never looked back. She described herself as a cruise lifer and internationally travel-driven. She even met her husband while traveling through Italy during her college years. Prior to joining Windstar Cruises during the summer of 2023, Bava was most recently the Chief Marketing Officer for AMA Waterways River Cruises, and she has spent upwards of 20 years working in the travel industry. Most notably, prior to AMA Waterways, Bava was a VP of Marketing for the Americas for Silversea Cruises, where she fell in love with small ship luxury cruising. Graduated from Florida International University with a marketing and international business degree, Janet always dreamed of working for a global brand poised for expansion, and that would allow her to focus on bringing people from all over the world closer together. As a member of Chief, which is a professional network for women, she enjoys connecting and supporting women, executive leaders, and emerging future female leaders in the corporate world. She prides herself on being a results-driven professional who is able to lead by example and set a clear vision for her team. Bava values collaboration, creativity, and innovation. She sees the advantages of leveraging new emerging technologies to consistently deliver results, and she looks forward to further elevating the Windstar experience, ensuring every touch point with our guests can be 180 degrees from ordinary. There's one thing Bava has that never expires, her passport. If she could, she would explore the whole world on a ship with her beloved colleagues, family, and friends. With an already accomplished travel portfolio, Bava is most eager to experience Tahiti and the Middle East, the Windstar way, on an intimate private yacht-style cruise, delighting in the culinary experiences this award-winning global travel brand is renowned for. Welcome, Janet, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
And thank you for that introduction, Paul.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk to you about cruising and Windstar, two of my favorite subjects. So, yeah, excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, good to virtually meet you. Before we discuss Windstar Cruises and the path that led you there, tell our listeners about yourself in general, where you're from, where you live, background, anything you would like to share.
Yes, absolutely. I am a cruise lifer, having been raised in Miami, the cruise capital of the world. I was racing these massive cruise ships, right, departing from my home city. And so I've just been really lucky my entire career. I studied marketing and international business from FIU. And I'm very, very lucky that I got to pursue a career within my studies. And so I always wanted to work for international brands. I believe travel is a force of good. It allows us to meet different people. And so I get to meet different people like you, in my role today and meet people around the world. And just, I love talking. So if you don't shut me down, I will continue to talk.
Talk about the career path that led you to Windstar.
Well, I started with Royal Caribbean. I again, being in Miami, and graduating from college, I applied, to many roles and many jobs, and I got my foot in the door through Royal Caribbean. I spent about a decade there. And I always say, those who worked at this amazing organization, really, you leave there with a master's in cruising. To me, I think it's one of the best, cruise brands out there in terms of corporate entity. Not only, I mean, we all see it from the financial results, but I think it has amazing talent. It has an amazing product. And so from there, I spent some time with the theme parks. I had the former CMO at Royal had moved over to Universal Orlando, and she was starting a CRM team at the time at Universal, and they had just launched Harry Potter, and they had all the new hotels coming online. And so I was really excited to build a team. So I spent a few years in the theme park, but once you get injected with the cruise bug, I came right back. I headed up the marketing team at Silver Seas, and I was there when they were acquired by Royal Caribbean. And then I got a call for my dream job as CMO for a river cruise company in California. So about 7 years ago, I moved to California to take on the role of CMO at AMA Waterways. And I've just packed up my bags a few months ago. And I was supposed to relocate 2 years ago, but I have two boys. I am a mother as much as I am a professional. In fact, that is my greatest job. The one that I'm most proud of is being a mother of two amazing boys who are now growing into men, actually. And, I accepted the job because I felt like I had reached the pinnacle of my career as CMO, and I was in California, but I really missed my family. And so when Windstar called and said, Betsy O'Rourke is retiring, and, would you like to take on the opportunity of being the chief commercial officer at Windstar, which would oversee not only marketing, but sales, itinerary planning, the contact center, the reservation contact center. It was in revenue management. For me, it was a huge opportunity to come back home. And so I've just relocated back home to Miami. I'm here and I have my dream job and working for, the cruise industry and for this amazing brand, Windstar, that has been around for 40 years and is seeing incredible growth.
So how long have you been at Windstar?
2 years. I'm celebrating this
2 years?
week, actually. Yes, 2 years.
Okay. Okay. Uh, yeah, I've learned of you. I took my only river cruise was on Amma.
Okay.
And and so I wrote article for I'm not sure if you've heard of Corky Cruise. They kind of chronicle small ship cruising.
Yes.
So I wrote an article on that cruise, and then when I got back, I called a mutual friend of ours at Alma, Jasmine
Oh,
Dowse,
Jasmine.
and it was a what do you call it, soulful expressions cruise,
Yes. Soulful
and that,
Epicurean, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, and so Jasmine sort of has been instrumental in keeping that going, making that happen, and keeping it going. And so I called her to get some quotes, for the article that I was writing, and somewhere in that discussion, she mentioned you when you were working at Amber
Mhm.
with her, and I knew right then and there. I said, I've got to reach out to this Janet Bava for someone to speak so highly of her, and I already kind of had an idea of what you were doing in the cruising world at Windstar, and I'm glad it finally came to fruition.
Yes.
So
Oh, thank you so much. And, I want to say Jasmine is a force. She is, someone who, and I get goosebumps when I think about our time that we worked together at AMA, because I saw someone who is so passionate about what she's doing at AMA, but more importantly about who she is and what she stands for. And she brings that to work every single day. And that passion that she has for life and for driving change within our industry is infectious. And I'm just so excited to see her grow. And I'm just, she's one of those people that we're going to talk about probably 10 years from now and say, wow, remember when? And so I'm excited for her future, and I'm so excited that, she connected us.
Well, that's very nice of you to say, and I will report that back to Jasmine.
Yes.
So tell our listeners,
hmm
who is Windstar Cruises?
So Windstar is a small ship cruise brand that's been around for over 40 years. And so when you think about Windstar, if you've heard of Windstar, you probably think about these beautiful sailboats from 150 to 350 guests that have been around for quite some time. But what happened at Windstar, it's going to be almost a decade now, watch, almost 10 years ago, they were acquired by the Centera Travel Collection, which owns, the portfolio of the national parks. They have the concessions of the national parks. They have Oasis Death Valley. They also have other travel brands like Holiday Vacations, Vermont bicycle tours and country walkers. So they acquire all these variety of brands, and they acquired Windstar, and they've been investing in cruise because, as we know, cruising is, flourishing, but small ship in particular is really, I think, taking this industry by storm. In fact, for the first time ever, a third of the new ships that are being built are small, and small being less than 1,000 passengers. Because I think people have been trying cruising and they love that value of unpacking once and seeing multiple destinations. But I do think sometimes people are overwhelmed by those mass market cruise brands and maybe have too many people on board and it's just not for them. And so, Windstar, the other thing that we're seeing is a lot of ultra luxury small ship brands, very luxurious, right? And so that space for us is getting very cluttered. We're what we call casual and approachable luxury. So we're in this upper premium category where, when you come on board, you can expect amazing food, high quality product, but you don't necessarily have the formalities of having to wear a suit, or you don't see the opulent chandeliers. So our luxury is more of a casual, understated, friendly, and fun. And so we also have the benefit, and like I mentioned, the investments that we've had with our parent company, we're growing our fleet. So we used to be, just 10 years ago, we were only 3 ships. We acquired 3 additional ships, and very soon we're going to have 2 more ships for a total of 8. So what happens as a small ship cruise brand, we're actually able to show our guests the world, meaning that these ships don't go very fast, so they don't move very quickly from location like those big, massive ships do. So now that we have more ships, we get to keep a ship year round in Tahiti. In fact, we're going to have 2 very soon. We get to keep a ship year round in Europe. And so we get to put ships in places like, Japan and Southeast Asia that are so popular these days, as well as the Caribbean, which, everyone loves during the winter months, especially. But as a small ship brand, we usually go to ports, and the majority of the times we allow you to go and explore ports that are not necessarily on your bucket list or they're hard to reach, but you're just really, really immersed in the destination and really excited to visit these smaller towns that you wouldn't necessarily visit. And so you get to see the big towns, like in Italy, Rome, and Florence, or Barcelona in Spain. But you also get to go, where the big ships can't go. And that's what our clients really think, that we set ourselves apart. We allow you to see the destination. The ship is not the destination. We take you to the destinations that you want to go and see and explore.
Give us some highlights of Windstar sailings that you have enjoyed.
Yes. So I have been very lucky. I love Europe. I think Europe is great, year round. And as you know, you've now been on a river cruise. The biggest difference I would say from a river cruise to ocean cruising is really the destination, because there's places where river cruises don't exist, right? You only have so many river cruises. And so ocean small ship, usually cruises go to the Caribbean in the winter months, the fall and winter months. Well, we actually stay in Europe during the winter months. So to me, my favorite cruise was New Year's Eve, being docked as the only ship in Barcelona and seeing the fireworks, 360 degrees of fireworks up at the top deck, drinking champagne, surrounded by my friends and family. And so to me, it's exactly that. It's being in destinations with family or with friends, and experiencing these destinations with Windstar. So I would definitely say explore Europe with Windstar, because any one of our itineraries in Europe, I just came back from the south of Italy, which not a lot of cruise brands do. And that was phenomenal. So I just love the Mediterranean and I love exploring that with Windstar. And I think we do it differently.
We'll be right back.
Do you have a dream car? Mine is the Lucid Air. Are you intrigued by electric vehicles? The Lucid Air EV has been called the best driving car in the world. And the Lucid Air Sapphire is certifiably the fastest production car in the world. Listen to Lucid Driver Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts or at luciddriver.buzzsprout.com. So it sounds like when you were in Barcelona for New Year's Eve, that was an overnight
Yes.
port.
Yes, sir.
Is that typical for Windstar?
That's you hit it right on spot on. We do a lot of overnight ports, especially in destinations like Rome and Barcelona or Venice, where guests want to stay a little bit longer, and there may be, restrictions with hotel, and not necessarily restrictions, but just we kind of operate like the hotel, right? Where you can get off and explore the city and stay later versus having to rush back to the ship and take off. And so in the larger ports, we do overnight, where it makes sense. And so our guests enjoy that because they get to see more of the towns and cities that we visit.
I've been cruising for 40 years, and I have
Wow.
never enjoyed or never gotten the opportunity to enjoy an overnight port. Can you believe that?
Oh,
So that's
wow. Not even on your river
no,
cruise?
no. So that's well,
Oh
well,
my
on the
goodness.
river cruise, the very first night, we we
Yes.
we left out of it was in the southern France, and I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. The Rhone.
Yeah, maybe it was Lyon. I can't remember where the start.
Was it Lyon or
Avignon,
Avignon?
Avignon, yeah, and
Avignon.
so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we boarded the ship, and we stayed
Uh-huh.
overnight there, and then we
Yes.
left the next morning. So, but I've
I
never
love it.
had
I
I've never
love that
had a
itinerary.
situation where it came into a port, and
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 then
I could do like the
overnight.
city all night long, you know?
Right. Yeah, yeah, those are really fun. I just did that in Dubrovnik. Actually in January, we do a cruise, beautiful cruise from Venice. So people arrive in Venice and we don't leave that night, similar to what you did in Avignon, right? We stay an extra night so that you can enjoy Venice. And then we head over to Dubrovnik and we stayed overnight in Dubrovnik. And that was beautiful because Dubrovnik during the summer months is really busy. But then during the winter months, you only have the locals, which is pretty phenomenal. So you feel like if you have the town to yourself and you're not a tourist, you're really embedded within the locals. And so our guests got to see, Dubrovnik is kind of where Games of Thrones was filmed. So I mean, they had a variety of options and they were able to even go out and not have dinner on the ship. They were actually went out and dined in the city. And so they really enjoyed that and going shopping and not, again, you usually arrive to a destination on a cruise and go out on a shore excursion. And there's a little bit of time between when you actually, come back from that shore excursion and then enjoy the city that you've just toured. And so this allows you to see, more of the city that you've just toured and go back to the things and spend more time where you want to go spend more time
Yeah,
at.
yeah. I've even heard of people who, when their ship stayed overnight, and I've even heard of
Uh-huh.
staying 2 nights,
Yes.
have actually gotten a hotel room in a city.
Yeah. Yes.
Uh,
Yes. 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 Yes.
so
Right. Because you want to enjoy that city, right?
yeah,
And so, what we see with our clients and our guests is that a lot of times what they're doing is they're booking hotels pre or post cruise, right? And so you have, that possibility as well. That's what I love about cruising. We organize pre and post tours. So if you have somebody who loves Spain, we have a beautiful Barcelona round trip right now that departs in November. And as you know, the Mediterranean, especially in Barcelona and Spain, it's winter sun, right? I mean, it's beautiful and sunny in the 60s and 70s during those winter months. And so we have a Madrid cruise tour. And the beautiful thing about that is, I mean, once you go to Spain, you're like, yeah, I would love to see Barcelona, but I also want to see Madrid. And so Madrid has better airfare sometimes than Barcelona. So our guests will fly into Madrid, they'll stay 3 nights in Madrid and do our entire cruise tour package, then take a train, head over to Barcelona, and then do the cruise. And that, or do the vice versa at the tail end when they come back from the cruise. They want to relax in the city before they come back to the States. And so they'll do Madrid at the end of the cruise and just relax from the cruise and the adventures they've just taken and enjoy one more city and then take off, back home.
I always try to provide listeners with the guest cruising background. So we have a lot of listeners who are aspiring cruises. They haven't cruised yet, but they want to cruise.
Okay.
So I always
Okay.
try to get a sense from guests what their introduction to cruising was like. So what was your first cruise? When, where, and did you love it or did you hate it?
Okay, so actually, I talked about the cruise bug. So for all you listeners who have not gone on a cruise, all it takes is one for you to get injected with the cruise bug, and then you're going to want to do a cruise every single time after that.
Yep.
My first cruise, if you can tell by my accent, I have a little bit of an accent. I'm Latina, as you mentioned. I'm Cuban born, raised in Miami. And so we, in the Latin community and culture, we celebrate our 15th birthday. And it's usually a big, lavish party that, it's kind of like a little mini wedding. I mean, you basically spend almost as much money, but I've always wanted to travel, and my parents didn't really have the means to give me both a big quinceañera party and a cruise, and so I chose a cruise.
How do you say that again?
Quinceañera. That's like the fifth quinceañera.
Quinceañera. Okay, because I mentioned that in your intro, and I'll have to go back and listen.
How you pronounce
Compare
it?
what you just said to the way I think I did okay actually.
Okay, I'm sure you did. It is a hard word. It's a hard Spanish word. Some Hispanics don't even say it as well, probably as you did. So give yourself some credit. But so I was 15 years old when I took my first cruise, and it was out of Miami, and it was a Caribbean cruise, and the cost of a party. One night for 4 hours, we were able to take a 1 week cruise with my closest family and friend members. And, I remember just, at that age, a teenager, right? The liberty that you had on this big, massive ship to be able to roam around and still be with your family at dinner, then getting off the port and having these beautiful activities and going to see Cozumel and Grand Cayman. And I remember Ocho Rios, Jamaica. And,
Hmm.
our entire family, there were so many of us. It was our first time doing a cruise. And this was more than 30 years ago. So, you know, we all got injected with the cruise bug, and my entire family to this day. I mean, my father just had open heart surgery last Tuesday, Paul. And the
Ooh.
first thing that came out of his
I
mouth,
hope that all is
he's
well.
doing really well, and that's what I wanted to say. His inspiration when before he was put to sleep, he was like, "Don't worry, I'm going to get better because I need to go on a cruise." Because he's been, he was told he couldn't travel the last 3 months because of his heart condition, and he needed to have surgery. So when he woke up from his surgery, the first thing he said is he said, "Call my cousin, my godmother Mechi, tell her if she booked that cruise for me." So my entire family, ever since that one cruise on my 15th birthday till now, we love taking cruises. We enjoy the aspect of just seeing the world and seeing multiple places when we do travel. We all work like our workers, so we have 1 week or 2 weeks off a year. And so when we do take that time off, we want to be together as a family and we want to enjoy and see a new place. And cruising provides us that ability to do that.
Hmm. Now let me get it right. That quinceañera,
Look at that.
what ship was it on?
It was a Royal Caribbean ship, and it was I can't remember the name now, but it
So
was.
that's great. Your first cruise, you had, of course, had no idea at 15 that you'd be working for those folks in a few years.
Exactly. But you know what? When I finished that cruise, I was like, I want to get a career in this cruise. I want to work in a cruise brand. And I didn't know
Uh-huh.
that time at 15, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to work in cruising. Whether that was on board a ship, I didn't even realize the possibility of working in an office. Later on, I went to school and I realized, oh, you know what? I could actually work in the corporate side. I don't have to leave and work on a ship. I could actually work on a cruise brand and work in Miami because that's where they were headquartered.
Hmm. Hmm. So how soon did you cruise again?
I think shortly after that, probably not even 2, 3 years after that, we cruised again. And since then, we've done, I mean, so many of the cruises, a lot Royal Caribbean. My family were huge Royal Caribbean. I mean, my father now is like, he's waiting to become a Pinnacle. He's a Diamond Plus member because he's been cruising for so many years, right? It's been 30 years since he's been cruising.
Now, I'm sure that he or your family enjoys Windstar.
They love Windstar. So they have matured over to Windstar. And I say matured over, it's because, there's just so many destinations that the big ships can go to. And when you go on that many cruises, there's just so many times that you can go to Cozumel and Ocho Rios or Rome, etc. So what Windstar, they were actually with me when I was on that New Year's cruise. And so every
Okay.
chance they get, my father's now retired. And so as soon as he gets his health back, in check, he will absolutely be traveling again. In fact, he's my biggest promoter. He tells I mean, he was telling all the nurses and doctors coming in to see him, that's my daughter. She works for Windstar. You have to take a Windstar cruise. So they absolutely are big fans. They love the small ship experience. They loved AMA when I worked at AMA. So we're big fans of, cruising, but right now I think we all prefer the smaller, more intimate ship, only 300 passengers on board, maximum 350. We love that. We feel that that is, kind of like where we are right now in our stage of travel.
Yeah, I feel a new passion coming on. I haven't been on any ships as small as Windstar, other than the river cruise, but
Yes,
I
yes.
did take uh, my last cruise was on an ocean ship that meets your criteria, less than 1,000 passengers of small
Okay.
ship. I went on Explorer Journeys, and it was
Yes, yes.
600 and change on there.
Okay.
And yeah, I loved it. We did a reflections podcast about our time on Explorer Journeys, and I said right at the beginning, it's going to be very difficult for me to get on a traditional cruise ship now. You know.
You know what? I think, and this is why my family now sails on Windstar. My father's dream has always been to become a Pinnacle, but I think right now, because he has experienced small ship, right, he's definitely doing the big ships a lot less. Other if it's like an easy departure out of Miami. But yes, I think my entire family, my sister travels a lot. And I hear a lot of my friends also. I mean, once they experience small ship, it's very, very hard to go back to the big ships. I mean, the attention that you get, that one-on-one service that you get from the crew and staff, they know you by name. You just feel that week that you are on board that you are royalty and that you are the only guest on board. And then you have really, amazing people that you get to really meet. And I mean, you spend sometimes a week in a big ship and you don't see everybody that's on board and you don't see the same people. But when you're on a smaller ship, you actually see a lot of the same people. So a community is built on board and friendships are made and created. And I think today, as we're all online and we're all kind of live far away from each other, the fact that you can reconnect with people in person and travel together and share these experiences and these memories, I think there's something special about that. And I don't think there's a price for that. I think, if I have to, and I always tell I've just gone through this move, packing up so many things. I think we're a society, we have so many things. We purchase so many items, and you hear all these things about tariffs, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm actually not concerned because we should be buying less things. We, purchasing more travel experiences and buying less things as a society because, we always forget that purse we bought or that shoe we bought, and the moment we buy it, it loses its luster. But when you spend money on vacations and traveling with your family, your loved ones, you always cherish that memory forever.
Let's talk about the future.
Yes.
What travel, work, or leisure uh,
Uh-huh.
that we can talk about that do you have booked?
So I am really excited about one destination that I've been through in passing through a transatlantic cruise, and that's the Canary Islands. We're actually one of the only cruise lines, small ship, and specifically that are doing the Canary Islands this fall and winter season. So I'm very excited about that. And the one that I'm really excited about too is our brand new ship, the Star Seeker. We get delivery of this beautiful ship in December, and I'll be able to experience the ship, be one of the first before our guests come on board. They're called shakedown cruises, which is when the actual team that works for the company comes on board to trial the ship and trial the operations of it before we actually can welcome guests. So I'm really excited about going to Spain and boarding in actually it'll be in Lisbon. I apologize. It's sailing through Spain, but I'll be boarding in Lisbon and seeing our brand new ship. So yes, I'm excited about that travel. And the most excited I am actually is next week. I know we wanted to schedule this quickly because next week we're in the midst of summer vacation, and I have a home in the south of Italy. And I always, that to me is, we're actually going to be taking an itinerary next year in 2026 to the south of Italy. We're going to be taking our ships to Reggio Calabria and that beautiful area where, I spend my summers in. So very excited. Europe, if you hear me, I'm always talking about Europe. I never get bored of traveling to Europe, and traveling to Europe with a cruise, it's the best form, the best way.
So on that new ship, and you might have said it earlier, what's the size?
224 guests only.
Anything unique about it relative to your existing fleet? I mean, what can we look out
Yeah.
for?
So you know what we learned is that people love, to travel, and they like to have space, right? When they travel, because a lot of things that we're also seeing is people are taking about 2 weeks vacation, right? They may be working remote one week, but people are, taking longer vacations. And so what we've done with these ships is actually taking the iconic features of Windstar ships that people love and adore and brought it to this ship. So we're going to have beautiful dining venues, and Basil and Bamboo is one of the new dining venues that we're going to be having, and it's included in the fare. It's complimentary. You don't have to pay an extra fee for specialty. Usually specialty dining means an extra fee with the mass market cruise lines. It is included in your fare. So I'm really excited about that restaurant. We're the official cruise line of the James Beard Foundation. So one of the things you can be assured of is that you're going to eat well when you come on board Windstar. And so the other thing that I'm really excited about are these Horizon Suites, which are, they have basically a wraparound balcony. And so, when you're on a cruise, you love, looking out in the water. There's something serene and relaxing about looking out, from your room into the water. And so we have these two, beautiful type of category suites. One is the Horizon Suite, which has a wraparound balcony. But if you can't quite afford that level of luxury, we have an infinity suite, which is actually floor to ceiling windows, and the windows come down, and the room then acts, the living room area of the suite acts like your balcony. And so the beautiful thing about that is that you don't have to give up space in your suite for a balcony, but you have the option of actually lowering the glass and having the breeze come in, and so we have these infinity suites that we don't have in any other one of our ships, and so I'm really excited about that and seeing that live and in action.
Now you mentioned food.
Mhm.
There's no special or the specialty restaurants
Being included.
are included.
Mhm.
That's on the entire
The
fleet.
entire fleet. And that's why I talk about value. When you look at the price points of these cruises, when you kind of calculate what you spend on these mass market brands, it may cost you very little to come on board, but everything you pay once you get on board, including sometimes $7 water bottles in your stateroom, each time you drink water, and in the summers they get pretty hot and you're drinking a lot of water. We have complimentary water. If you're eating in the specialty dining venues, you're paying an extra fee. We had that included in the fare. If you're ordering room service, a lot of times they're charging you for room service. We have complimentary room service. In our suites also are all suite ships, the star class ships. We have a beautiful sauna and steam room. And a lot of times on ships, you have to have some kind of a service, either a massage or a facial to use the spa facilities. You don't have to with Windstar. So all of that you can enjoy across our fleet. And that becomes an incredible value when you look at the price point, you see everything that is included in the price of the cruise.
And your ships, Windstar,
Mhm.
do all the ships have pools?
They sure do. Up at the top deck, they have a pool. We're also very much known for our whirlpools. We have these beautiful spa whirlpools at the aft and at the at the front of the ship, at the back of the ship, and so we have beautiful pools on the top deck of our sail ships and also our all suite ships. So yes, you can definitely enjoy a beautiful top deck pool, cocktail by the pool, and yeah, it's an incredible experience for being a small ship. You don't really feel like if you're missing anything from the big ships. What we do not have is like the big entertainment or Broadway style shows.
Sure,
But
sure.
you definitely don't miss that when you're on a small, intimate ship because you're seeing more of the destination. And when you're coming on board, it's more relaxing and, you're just recharging for the next day.
What about excursions?
Yes, so we have a variety of shore excursions at each port of call. We have a wonderful team that curates these excursions. They've been working with us for a very long time, and they range anywhere between $50 per person to a private tour, $500 per person, and depending on what it is. So we have a lot of times at the port. So the shore excursions are extra. But the reason why we don't include them is because everyone is different and everyone wants to see different things. And so we have a variety for you to choose from depending on your budget and what activity you want to do. Some, folks like to just do more experiential, maybe a culinary experience, a wine tasting, hiking up, maybe in Iceland versus, doing a bus tour. So we have a variety of choices for guests to come and enjoy, but I can assure you that each of the destinations have highly curated shore excursions that whichever one you choose, they're going to be excellent.
One last question about the future.
Yes.
Do you have a cruising and travel bucket list?
I do. I would love, love, love to do, I think I already disclosed my age. I'm 47, and usually people wait until they retire, and they're older to do a world cruise. I would love one day when I become an empty nesters and my kids are in college to do a world cruise. I would love to spend 120 days on board and seeing the world on a cruise.
Wonderful. Janet, I know that you are extremely busy. However, before we
Yeah.
close, we always like to ask a few light and even fun
Okay.
questions. And top executives like to have fun too.
We sure do. We work too hard. We like to have fun. Of course we do.
That's right. So you don't get off. So the first question is, how do you spend your me time?
You know what?
And don't say what me time.
No, no,
We
no.
gotta make
No.
time for me time.
I do. Paul, can I tell you, I am a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, and I'm a career-driven individual. But I really prioritize me time, my self-care. I want to live a long life. I think right now I'm all about longevity. I've struggled with my weight my entire life, and I've always trying to be on every single diet. And right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to live a longer, healthier life. So it's not about being skinny, it's about being healthy and so that I can, live a long life and see my kids grow up. So when I have me time, I try and, stay fit. I try and spend time with my family and my friends. I missed them a lot when I was living in California. So now that I'm back in Miami, my me time is going to be self-care. And usually that activity of self-care probably is accompanied by my sister or one of my friends or my husband or my kids.
Okay, good. Uh, Here's a cruise specific question. What's your favorite cruise drink and
Ooh.
cruise food?
Okay. So I will say I love, 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 love. When we go to Anfora, which is our main dining restaurant from our food, because we're the official cruise under the James Beard Foundation, every evening they actually recommend an appetizer, a main dish, and a dessert from that's been a collaboration with one of our James Beard Foundation chefs. So my favorite food is usually anything on the menu at Windstar Cruises that is recommended or was curated by a James Beard Foundation chef. And you can never go wrong. I am a foodie, so I love to eat. And so I definitely would recommend you all to come on board and try our food because, I mean, just phenomenal, phenomenal. So that's my favorite food. And my drink, we have a gentleman called Peter Tobler, who is an icon in the industry. He's ran food and beverage department for a very long time. And we have a partnership with Lux Wines, and he curates the wine on board. And right next to that menu, usually with that meal, he has what he would pair the wines with. So I have become a big wine drinker. My husband's Italian. I love wine. I love a good Italian wine. But when I come on board, I actually get very creative. And I actually, whatever they recommend from a wine perspective, I taste. And so, yeah, any wine pairing with my James Beard Foundation food is what I'm going to be, is my favorite and what I most look forward to.
Okay. What's your most memorable, wonderful, or funniest, or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience
Okay.
that you're willing to share?
Yes. So you know what? I will tell you what. So we actually have a mystery cruise that we launched, right? And so when we launched this mystery cruise, all of our guests, it sold out quickly. And what a mystery cruise is, you know where the embarkation port is and you know where you're debarking from, but you don't know where you're going. And so this embarkation port was Greece. And people thought that it was going to be a Greek cruise. And so it was so memorable to be up on the top deck because every night we would announce the next destination. Imagine being on a cruise and not know where you're going. Well, this is the
Wow.
psychology of it all, right? Usually people that go on a cruise, they know what day they're supposed to be where and what time they're going to arrive and what time they're going to leave. Well, this mystery cruise was all about not trusting Windstar that we're going to take you to the most phenomenal places in the world and that you're not going to know where it is. And so in this cruise, people thought because we're leaving Athens, that this was going to be a Greek Isles cruise and they were going to be visiting new destinations they had never seen in Greece. But little did they know that we actually took them to the south of Italy, what used to be called Magna Grecia. And the south of Italy, for those of you who don't know, usually actually was populated by the Greeks before the Roman Empire took over. And so everyone was just so surprised. They had no idea. We were on board, and I'm here trying to explain to people, yes, I know you thought you were going to Greece, but you are actually in Greece 2,000 years ago. This used to be Greece 2,000 years ago. And that for people, they couldn't even fathom that that was the case. And so the ability to be able to teach well-traveled individuals, because usually when you're coming on board, people have traveled the world and they think that they're going somewhere and then they learn, something that they didn't know that they were actually in Greece, but 2,000 years ago. And so to me, that's the south of Italy. It's visiting a region of the world that was so influenced by Greek and Greek culture. And so that to me was very fun and memorable to be 1 week on board, exploring the world with individuals that thought they were going somewhere and we actually took them somewhere very off the beaten path and somewhere they didn't expect to go.
That sounds amazing. How often does Windstar do that? I never heard of this.
So this was our very first one in April, and we'll be doing the next one in the Caribbean next year, and it's completely sold out. So now we're kind of going around and checking to see when can we do more of them because we're going to be launching a series of mystery cruises because it's become very, very popular.
Wow, that sounds like I don't know of any other line that does anything like that. It sounds like something unique
absolutely.
to Windstar.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, the last question, and I call this one an oddball question because it doesn't necessarily have to do with cruising. But before I ask that question, let me welcome Janet's friends and fans and family listening. And we hope that you have enjoyed what you've heard and will come back to listen to more of the Joy of Cruising podcast, or join our Facebook group or follow us on Instagram. But share one thing, Janet, that my listeners and your friends and fans don't know about Janet?
Oh, this one's hard because I am an open book. And one of the things that my friends and family will tell you is that I'm not good at keeping secrets. And what you see is what you get. Like you see it, don't take me to a poker table because whether I have a good hand or not, you will see it in my face. And so I don't like to keep secrets. If you're a friend of mine or you're a family member of mine, you probably know everything there is to know about me. But what I can tell you is, I am a forever life learner. Sometimes people call me, people say, I don't know if it's because I'm bossy. I know what I want and I'm very clear about what I want, et cetera. But I'm actually, and I'm very confident at times, but, I'm a constant learner. I think I'm always learning. And no matter how confident people think that I may be, or, how much I have achieved career-wise and how much, when I speak with conviction and very, like if I know it all, but I can tell you that I'm always listening. Even though I talk a lot, I am always listening and I'm always learning from people. And so that's why I like to meet new people, because I think as a human being, we should never stop learning.
Very good. Let me close with a wonderful quote of Janet's. I just think it resonated with me, and it I'm sure would resonate with all of you listeners who are travelers or aspire to travel.
And that is, I believe travel is a force of good. And we should all travel this world, especially in today's environment. We all know we are all, very emotional with the geopolitical situations that are happening. We turn on the news and we all get sometimes fearful or happy or sad. But I can tell you, when you travel the world, you actually see what the reality of the world is. And the reality of the world is that no matter our skin color, who we are, where we come from, all we want to do is be respected as individuals and respected for our beliefs. And I think that's what travel does. It embraces people and embraces the ability to understand others.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you so much for coming on the Joy of Cruising podcast, and all the best to you and to Windstar Cruises. And as I like to say, we will see you on the ocean.
I love that. Thank you, Paul. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99, can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.